In this tutorial, I will demonstrate basic audio crossfading using Adobe Premiere Elements. We'll take a look at how to create seamless audio transitions between clips, as well as how to use room tone to unify ambient audio across multiple clips. Let me preview this real quickly here. This is what we're going to do. The scenario is you have multiple clips butted up against each other, and I've got them here in my Video 1 and Audio 1 tracks. I'm then going to add a transition, an audio transition called a crossfade in between those two audio clips so that they don't sound so abrupt. And finally, we'll add another audio track underneath all of this to make the audio sound more continuous. Okay, take a look at what I've got here in my timeline. I have 4 audio clips. The first 3 are scenes that have very loud ambient noise, and the fourth one is a quiet office scene. Now, please understand that I've deliberately chosen these exaggerated loud audio environments to shoot because it helps demonstrate the crossfading technique in this particular tutorial. Your homework assignment will be to duplicate something like this, where you have both loud environments as well as quiet environments, and your challenge is to try to stitch them together so that they sound continuous. Here's what I mean. Let me play back a little bit of this here, just a few seconds each. I want you to hear how different the static ambient audio is. We've got electrical hum, we have fan noises, we have light noises, we have engine noises, and they all blend together in this horrible cacophony that editors have to deal with. Okay, there's no dialogue in this scene, obviously. It's just background noise, but that's done deliberately because it allows us an easier situation to teach crossfading. But what I want to point out here is how loud this audio is. You can look at the waveforms here and clearly see that this clip down here, clip number 2, is the most problematic because its amplitudes are so much higher than the other two, especially the last one, which is just an office scene. And again, I know these were deliberately chosen because they're loud environments and it's highly exaggerated, but it offers us a good teaching opportunity here. So here's how we fix this. Listen again to the difference in tone here. Okay, you've got a lower pitch tone and a higher pitch tone backed up next to each other. And it's very obvious that those are totally different. If you had characters talking to each other in a dialogue, and one clip had that background noise and the other clip had the other one, the audience is going to get terribly confused because it seems like they're in two totally different places. So how do you unify that? This is a question of audio continuity. The solution, of course, is to use an audio transition. And audio transitions are available down here in the pull-up menu for transitions. It may, if it doesn't display by default, just simply click on the pull-down wing out menu right there and you can choose audio transitions. And there are 2 crossfade options. The one that you want to use is constant power. Constant gain I can never really get to work right, so just use constant power. And drag that right in between those 2 audio clips that you want to transition, that you want to crossfade. And when you release, it asks you how long do you want it. We'll try it for a second initially. Sometimes you can choose where you want it, but we've already positioned it in the middle, so I'm going to click Done. Now notice that I positioned it in the middle, but it automatically slid it over. When this happens, and it's an idiosyncrasy to Premiere Elements, you can simply drag it back into position. So let's start off with it right smack in the middle and see how this sounds. Let me back up. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. We had a nice transition there between those two. It sounds much less abrupt. Let's do the same thing for the second clip, the second and third clip rather. And notice when I set the duration at 1, I'll click Done. It still shoves over a little bit, so I'm going to slide it back over there in the middle. And let's see what it sounds like going from this outdoor HVAC fan into the car engine. Okay, not too bad. If I wanted to, I could stretch that out just a little bit longer to make that transition a little less obvious, a little bit more subtle. So let me back up again, play it now. You see how smoother that is? So don't be afraid to make your audio transitions, your crossfades, asymmetrical. I've only got a little bit of the fading effect applied on really the second clip here. But the next one, it's stretched out much farther, and you're really going to have to play with the content that you have and experiment until you get something that sounds continuous. And again, remember, the selections we've chosen here are very, very loud to begin with, and you're probably going to want to choose better audio locations to do your shooting so that you're not constantly having to fight these audio issues. But again, good opportunity for teaching here. Now let's talk about how we can unify this entire segment here. The problematic piece, of course, is this last transition right here. It's so abrupt, it sounds completely unnatural, and the audience is obviously going to think that time has changed here, and it very well may have. But if you have this need, this exaggerated need to have two segments where the audio clips are totally different, then even after you apply a transition, you may still have a problem. Watch this. I'm going to drag my audio transition in here, and I'll stretch it back over like I have been. And then when I play it, let's listen to how it sounds. Okay, so it fades out nicely, but the dichotomy between them is so egregious, there's no way that dialogue in the clip that precedes it could continue into the next clip without the audience member wondering what in the world just happened. So how do editors create the illusion of continuity in these types of scenarios? And the answer is they add a layer of room tone underneath this content. Here's how this works. The first thing I'm going to do is add another audio track, and I'm going to right click here in the gray space in Audio 1 track and click Add Tracks. And I'm going to add 0 video tracks because I just don't need any for this particular task. I'm going to add one audio track, and add it before the first track. And I click OK, and that pops it up right here underneath my main track, but before the others. And what this effectively does is allow me another layer. Notice that Audio 1 effectively got bumped up to Audio 2. That's my main audio, and now I have a cushion of ambient noise that I can sustain underneath here to add some continuity to this entire piece. And the whole trick to doing this is to take your loudest piece and separate it from the video clip. You can see currently here it's attached to this video clip, but I can right click that and unlink the audio and video and come out here. I have to deselect first, and then I've just got the audio, and I can right click again and choose copy and put my playhead, this is really important, put the playhead over here in empty time and paste another segment of time there. I might even do 2 of them, back maybe even a third. So now I have 3 of them. Let me zoom down a little so we can see everything. And let's do one more. Let's do 4. Okay, so I have 4 continuous pieces here of audio, and I'm going to add a transition to each one of them. And I'll keep it at duration 1. Okay, I've skipped ahead here, and I've stitched together those 4 pieces of the outside HVAC audio, and I've put a transition between each one of them now so that they sound continuous. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm simply going to point out that it sounds totally continuous now. And here's the trick. Let me scroll down just a hair here. I can now lasso all of those clips. I could even group them if I wanted to, but I'm just going to grab them and then drag them and put them down here underneath the other clips. I might even stretch them out just a little bit so that it fits all the way. And what this effectively does now is it creates a background layer of room tone. Even though we're outside, we still call this room tone. And so now all these shots will have background room tone under them and sound a lot more continuous. So here, let me play it for you and see what I mean. And even the chair scene. Now again, this is an exaggerated example, but this is how crossfading and room tone tracks can be combined to try to unify it. The last thing I'll show you, and you have to be careful with this because you don't want to kill your dialogue track, but you can also come in here and manually reduce the impact or the gain levels of these audio tracks. And if you do that while still preserving the audio track of your room tone, it sounds even more continuous. Have a listen. Okay, now it all just sounds like one continuous blob of noise. And that's the goal. So again, this has been highly exaggerated, but this is a good example of how you can use a simple crossfading technique combined with some room tone to unify various clips. We'll learn a lot more about other audio editing techniques using Premiere Elements in later modules. That concludes this tutorial on basic audio crossfading using Premiere Elements. Thank you as always for watching, and good luck creating your homework assignments.